Hey there, Seb the Realtor here, and in this video I'm going to address the age-old question, can you time the Silicon Valley real estate market? If you're wondering if you can know when we're going to hit a high or a low in the Silicon Valley real estate market and make plans around that, then you definitely want to watch this video. Alright, well, before I get into all that, I just want to say thank you so much for clicking on the link to watch this video. I really do appreciate it. And would you do me a huge favor, though? Would you mash that subscribe button right there and subscribe to my YouTube channel? And don't forget to click that little bell to make sure that you get a notification every time I put up a brand new, fun, fact-filled video, kind of like this one. All right, well, I wanted to talk about timing the Silicon Valley real estate market, the Bay Area real estate market, the California market, the national market, the world market. I want to talk about that because I see a lot of people these days essentially saying they are trying to time the real estate market. And, you know, I remember this very well. This is in January of 2016. I made a video way back when, and this is long before I had my really cool YouTube channel I have right now, before, you know, I was really very seriously, heavily into video like I am today. But I made a video back then, and I'm going to put a link to it here inside the notes on this YouTube video. But I made that video, and I wrote a pretty long blog article about that as well. Because I had seen another guy who was in Salt Lake City, I think, and he was a realtor, and he was saying that, hey, we're at the end of the market cycle. You need to be advising your clients to bail on their real estate investments because we're at the end of a real estate cycle, which he said everybody knows that real estate markets run in 7 to 10 year cycles. And so he was saying in January of 2016, it's time to tell your clients to bail out. Now, January 2016, what's happened to the real estate market since January 2016? It's pretty much gone up like a rocket. Now, in all fairness, it had been going up pretty heavily since about 2012. You know, the market kind of bottomed out in 2011, and around 2012, the market was certainly resurgent. And but he was saying that, like, the market had peaked in 2006, and therefore it was 2016, and so that was a peak to peak, right? That's how you measure a cycle, from, you know, 360 essentially, from peak to peak. That was 10 years, so therefore it was time to bail out of the market. Well, obviously, really dumb advice, really horrible advice, because if you had bailed out of the market at that time for that reason, you would have lost out on just tons of appreciation. I mean, can you imagine how happy you would be if you had actually bought a house in 2016, if you'd bought in 2016, or even 2017, or 2018, or 2019? You would be pretty stoked with where you are right now in terms of how much appreciation. So, but nevertheless, today I see a lot of people saying that want to time the real estate market. So I hear buyers saying that a lot, like, why would I buy a house now when, you know, the market is, you know, like, in decline, it's past its peak, and so I think I should just wait while the market is going down. And then I'm also hearing, on the flip side, I'm hearing a lot of sellers say, gee, I missed the peak of the market. Probably I should hold off and sell later on when the market recovers. And so I'm going to share some data with you here, actually a chart. So check this chart out here. This is provided by Compass, and it shows 30 years approximately of market fluctuations across the Greater Bay Area. And it's very interesting to see there in this chart that there really is no you know, very straight line up or down. It's a series of spikes up and spikes down with a couple of notable market shifts in that time period. But those market shifts that were notable, those are things that you couldn't really time. For example, like, you know, the at the beginning of the chart, which actually isn't actually on the chart, but like the 1989 Loma Prieta earthquake, the pandemic, the subprime mortgage crisis. I mean, these are things that are really making big impacts on the market, but they have nothing to do with what one would consider to be like a normal business cycle. So, and those are really the greatest shifts, the greatest impacts that we see to the real estate cycle are things that aren't really cyclical at all. They're sort of like these one-off events like the pandemic, the dot-com crash, the '89 earthquake, the subprime mortgage crash, right? Things like this. And so it's very hard to make plans around that. In fact, if you are able to time your purchase or your sale exactly at the bottom or exactly at the top, or even kind of near the bottom or kind of near the top, you are doing very well. In fact, you're doing better than just about anybody, because nobody has really ever been able to consistently, reliably, and accurately predict market cycles. And believe me, there are many, economic PhDs out there, and think tanks, and foundations, and corporations, and hedge funds, all trying to do this very same thing that you are thinking about doing. Like, should I wait a year or two or 3 or 4 or 5 to sell my house when the market hits a peak, or should I wait a year or 2 or 3 to buy a house until I think the market is going to hit a bottom? And that's fine if you want to do that. It's fine if you want to put off the sale or put off the purchase of real estate for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Totally up to you. But the greatest minds in economics and finance are out there trying to do this, and no one has really ever been able to do it successfully, specifically because of those aforementioned reasons, which is that most of these big spikes or drops or whatever are brought on by non-cyclical events, like, for example, the raising of these mortgage interest rates, right? I mean, like, that's kind of like a one-off. Has that happened ever, that anyone can ever remember, to have such aggressive policy by the Federal Reserve to increase rates that quickly? I don't know. I mean, there have been other periods where rates have gone up, but I don't think they've gone up this high, this fast. I think this is a new territory, and it's had an effect on the market, which was, it was probably easy to predict if you knew it was going to happen, but you probably didn't know that was necessarily going to happen, that the Fed was going to be that aggressive, right? So I think if you are trying to time the market, you're probably, if you get it right, it's just luck. You're probably not going to actually be able to time it. But what I tell all my clients, buyers or sellers, that real estate works best as a long-term investment. And so, if you are going to wait 1 more year to sell your home, thinking that it might be better next year, I'm going to say that's probably not a really good bet. It could be better next year. It could be worse next year. It could be the same next year. Now I'm going to say 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 20, 30, 40, 50 years from now, I'm going to say prices are going to be a lot higher, because real estate consistently over time, like when you look at this chart, let's have a look at that chart again. When you look at this chart, what do you see? You see that over the 30-year period, prices have gone up dramatically, and I expect that will continue to happen, and I expect that there will continue to be these periodic episodes where we do have big drops in value and big increases in value, but it's really impossible to predict that, and trying to make a decision about when you buy or sell real estate based on thinking when the market's going to peak or when the market's going to bottom out, it's a losing game. You can't ever really win at that game except by luck, in which case you might as well just be playing the lottery or going to Las Vegas and put it all on double green or whatever it is. I don't know. A lot of buyers ask me, hey Seb, is it smart to buy a house right now? Shouldn't I wait like 6 months or 9 months or a year or 2 or whatever and then buy a house then? Wouldn't that be a smarter thing to do? And my question is, let me ask you this. How long do you intend to own that property? Do you intend to own it for a year or 2 or 3 or 4? And if the answer is yes, if you do have a short-term, window which you plan to be owning that real estate, I would say just don't buy the real estate, right? You can never really count on being able to even break even with such a short period of ownership. But if you are like most people and you own your house for 5 years, 7, 8, 10, 15, 20 years, the average length of time to own a home in the Bay Area is right around 20 years. If you're going to be owning a home for 20 years, just go back and look at that chart. If you own a home for that long, regardless of what other gargantuan shifts there are in the market, regardless of what point you bought in the market, you're going to be doing really, really well. And of course, there are a number of other reasons to own a home besides how much you are able to buy it for and how much you are able to sell it for. There's myriad benefits to home ownership. And to all you sellers out there, and I talk to a lot of sellers who are saying, maybe next year or 2 years or 3 years, maybe the market will recover by then and it would be a better time to sell. To all of you, I say, actually, it could be a better market to sell in 2 or 3 years, but it could also quite possibly be a worse market in 2 or 3 years, or perhaps quite a lot worse of a market in 2 or 3 years. And in fact, right now the market is actually great. Prices are actually really high. If you go and back and look over those 30 years, it's almost as high as it's been in the entire 30 years, except for within the last 1 year. So, taking the long-term view, you've done really, really great, and you certainly still are definitely, if not the absolute peak of the market, you're very, very close to the peak of the market, and it is really hard to know when you are at the peak exactly. You will only know in hindsight. So if you are thinking about selling, if it were me, my best advice would be to sell now, because at least now you know what you have and you can take that money and put it to work somewhere else, buying property out of state, buying some equities in the stock market, paying down debt, funding a grandchild's college education. I mean, there's all kinds of productive things you could be doing with that equity instead of just having it sit around dead inside your house and not being used for anything more productive. All right, well, those are my thoughts about timing the Bay Area real estate market. It basically can't be done. But you can think about buying a house or owning a house just like buying stocks. The stock advisors will tell you just to keep on buying stocks regardless of the direction of the market. They call it dollar cost averaging. It's the same thing with real estate. Just buy a property, pay down the mortgage, increase your equity, and over time you will do very, very well in your real estate investment. All right, well, that's all I have for this video. I do hope you have enjoyed watching it. And if you have enjoyed watching, I'm guessing you'll also enjoy some of these videos over here. These are some of the most popular videos here on my YouTube channel, so please do check those out. And also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I would very much appreciate it if you would. All right, thank you so very much for watching, and please stay tuned.